interesting that you bring that up. So, like, and we've talked about this, all the depth that's down on the farm, particularly with the Tides. Like, how much longer would you give a guy like Hayes? I mean, obviously he was an all-star last year, so Brandon Hyde might give him as much time as he needs. But is there a certain point in time where you're like, some of these guys are hot down on the farm, maybe it's time to make a switch?
Well, and that's okay. Here, this is
the only reason I ask is because
I know
a lot of people are asking these questions.
I know,
right?
and this is going to get me riled up here. Austin Hayes has proven he's a big league player.
Yeah,
he's proven it. Mm-hmm. Right, he's not off to the greatest start, and I know the minor league guys, they're ready to prove that they're big league players. That's the kind of the issue here, right?
They probably would be big league players had they not, if they weren't in the Orioles organization.
Yep. Correct, and they should. But why do we all of a sudden are going? And I believe in all these guys. Like, I love Jackson Holiday, but the thing for me, the pressure that people put on these prospects coming up to be better than bona fide big leaguers from the start is outrageous. And that's where I sit at it. And you go, we know what we have when Austin Hayes gets going. It went, and if he's not getting going, then you're going to have to live with that. But Austin Hayes, under no circumstances, is going to end up down in AAA, in my opinion. Zero. I don't see that happening at all. Santander has been your guy the last 2 years. He's going to have struggles. Who cares? You're going to leave him out there. Cedric Mullins, he's going to have his struggles. Who cares? And I feel for the guys in AAA. I really do. But you see when you have young players that have to go through an adjustment period. And for the fans that want a winning product, it's hard to have it both ways. Imagine you brought up Heston, Jackson, Kobe, and all of them are just absolutely balling out down there. What if they get off to the slow starts that Gunnar, Adley, Cedric, Jackson got off to their careers, and the Orioles start losing games at that moment? Yes, you could say, oh, well, it's going to look good for the future. The team can win right now, and then they can win because they have a really good team. But that's the hard part of it. This isn't 2021 where vibes were not high in Birdland. You were trying to figure out who's going to be a part of the equation. You can't say, hey, Kobe, Heston, all of our young guys, Norby, go. If we suck, we suck. Those days are gone in Baltimore. And so that's another part that you got to keep in mind, is that these guys that have been through the tough stretches in the big leagues, that does count. Now, to finish the point, though, Brad, if Hayes and things is struggling, in May or June, the Orioles are probably going to continue to play the guys that they need to play. And that's just the reality of it. And Colton Cowser right now, he plays like this. Colton Cowser is going to be in the All-Star game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got to play him too. So it's a really, really tough problem to have, but I hope people can understand that. You can see with the examples of it, these players are talented. But just because they're extremely talented doesn't mean you got to try to adjust to something else. I mean, my dad, good Lord, that dude struggled his rookie year. Turned out good for him, right?
But I think he batted at or less than 100 going into in his first month, and then still ended up winning Rookie of the Year. So, things can change. People get hot. I mean, we talk about Anthony Santander. Anthony Santander is, it's like the old phrase, he is exactly who we thought he is. He's going to go on these streaks of 2 weeks where you're like, he's struggling. He can't buy a hit. Nothing's working. And then he goes 3 weeks and you're like, this is the best player on planet Earth at the game of baseball. So, it's tough to give up on these veterans because, like you said, even with Hayes, he started last year off and he really struggled to begin. He had that 5-for-5 game 2 of the year last year. But besides that, first month was not that good for him. And he still came out and went to the All-Star game. So it's hard right now to see who he plays over. I think they probably give Tony a rest, tomorrow or something, maybe put him at DH, let Hayes play somewhere else, probably back and left, put Cowser in right. But we've been saying the way they're swinging the bat right now, you can't bench Cedric. You can't bench Colton. So it is hard in this situation where the Orioles have so much talent. You can only bat 9 guys, and that's what sucks is I would love for every single one of them to be able to get consistent playing time, but that's not how it's going to work with how much talent the Orioles have. And like you said, Ryan, in the position that they're like, we can't just say, hey, if you go 0 for 100 right now, that's okay. They need to win games.
Yeah, and that's the expectation, right? And show of hands. Would you rather the Orioles win games to hopefully get to the playoffs and win the division again? Or would you like to say, well, you know what? We have a lot of young talent. Let's just go out there and play and live with the results. And if you want to live with the results, that's fine. I completely get that. But if we're going to be honest, the Orioles just came off of winning with the exact roster that you had in AL East and the number 1 seed in the American League. So that's something that you got to consider.
There hasn't been one Oriole team that's won 100 games or more that won a World Series. That's crazy. Crazy stat.
Yeah. Also, actually, real fast, Don C. Dog.
Kevin clap.
You, Don.
Kevin clap.
Appreciate you, Don.
Go ahead, Zach.
I actually forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, I'll go back then. So Don says, so glad that Mullins and Holiday's got it going today. It's amazing how toxic Twitter is against our own guys. Westy is him. You guys also, we did the breakdown on Jordan Westberg for a while, and that's a big thing. Do you remember what you're going to say?
Yeah, I got it back. Actually, it's because some people are talking about it in the chat. A lot of people, every time he's in the live, I don't know why, because all he does is produce. Ryan O'Hearn is just that guy. We saw it today. First inning, guys on base, single up, down the not down the line, between first and second. Then comes up 2 innings later, 2 outs, no one on. Ray got the first 2 guys pretty easily. You're like, okay, this is a shutdown inning for him. Puts it in the seats. Every time, especially against righties, Ryan O'Hearn is going to have a spot on this roster, and he is going to be used consistently, especially against right-handed pitchers, because all he does is rake.
Yeah, and they're not just putting him in like, hey, Ryan O'Hearn, you're facing a righty, hit 9th, hit 8th. No, they're putting him right in smack dab in the middle of the lineup because he has been able to develop his game. That's going to be a fun breakdown, is doing Ryan O'Hearn. I should have thought about that, but Cowser is just so caliente right now. It's going to have to be Cowser, Kevin. But Ryan O'Hearn, since he waited for his opportunity, and we've seen it, hey, you do it when you cover Locked On Ravens and doing all that stuff, change of scenery for players. It matters. Ryan O'Hearn's change of scenery, leaving Kansas City, coming to Baltimore. Yep, starting in AAA, then whammy up to the big leagues. Those things, it's true. It happens.
Yeah, it does. And I think, when we were seeing all those trades a couple weeks ago where the Orioles were bringing in a guy like every day for cash considerations and an optioning and bringing another guy in, that's how the Orioles got Ryan O'Hearn. It's pretty much like sometimes a guy comes in, of course, you talk about like name value. He comes in, everyone's like, all right, well, who is this guy? Why is he playing? But then the production starts. And for O'Hearn, the production has been pretty consistent. And especially to start the season, it's a luxury to have all this talent. And this is the delicate dance that Brandon Hyde has to go along with, that Mike Elias has to go along with. Because when we have the conversation about, well, you know what? Yeah, Heston probably deserves a shot in the major league. Kyle Stowers, he deserves a shot. And all these players. But with veterans, we're at April 14th right now, guys. If we're sitting here talking in a couple months and a Hayes is still struggling, or someone then that's a different conversation we can have. But obviously, and this goes with every sport, right? The Ravens, basketball, hockey, baseball, whatever it is, football. It's a what have you done for me now lately league. And what's happening right now? Austin Hayes is struggling. Colton Cowser is on fire. And so everyone says we'll never play Austin Hayes again. Colton Cowser deservedly should be playing all the time. I think that's definitely something that should be happening. But it's a reactionary thing. And I get it because it's in every single sport. But it's good that the Orioles have all of this talent, but they got to where they were with their vets. And again, if we're talking in a month or two and Austin Hayes is still going through this atrocious slump, then sure, different conversations can be had. But we saw this exact story last season, and look how it ended for him.
Well, it's like last year, we talked about this when we first got started, Ryan. George Springer went like 0 for 30 something. It's like, what are you going to do? Not have George Springer in the lineup? Like, get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, again, like these guys, when you've gotten out there, and again, it's where you are at your point of being an organization. Are you a rebuilding team, or are you ready to win now? Where's the combination? And what's funny, Kevin, not funny, but ironic with it, Baltimore baseball in the 60s, 70s, 80s, this is what they had, by the way. Their philosophy, so I remember talking to my dad and my grandfather, this was what I kept hearing, from my family. The motto that Cal Sr. used to say was that if you're good enough, you're going to be in the big leagues, but it might not be with us. And right now, the Orioles are in that position where you saw Joey Ortiz. How about Joey Ortiz, by the way?
Well,
You know?
yeah, he had a great series.
And so he had a great series where his time wasn't going to fit in Baltimore, but it was a valuable asset because then Corbin Burns comes to Baltimore. But Joey Ortiz gets a great opportunity because he's a big league player, right?
Mhm.
And someone was going to have a revenge series. DL Hall, Corbin Burns, Joey Ortiz. Joey Ortiz gets the last laugh. Phenomenal. 3-hit game to start off the series with that triple down the line.
Didn't get to play the next game.
Yeah,
Just left match up.
Yeah, that part I don't always agree with. They let the guy stay hot. I digress. But again, that's the point of it all. But and last thing I want to say, and then we're gonna move to our quick break here for our poll. Dog Training Plus. Yes. And Zach with the good memory. You have a good memory on this? I thought I said this.
No, that was literally me.
Oh,
I said,
okay.
I think we talked about it before the show, but
I wonder where you got that information, you jackass.
I was gonna say I think I know where I knew that from, but